Hi, I'm Pavel. We keep on talking about tmux. In the previous video, we looked at the very basic ideas of tmux and we checked how to set up a tmux session and how to use it at the very basic level. Now we will continue looking into the different commands of tmux, and I'll also show you how to customize tmux and introduce you to the concepts of sessions, of windows, and of panes. So as before, let's first access the remote server. Here I'm at the remote server, and first what I would like to do, I would like to create a new tmux session. For that, I type just tmux. And here I'm at the remote server, I created a new tmux session. And in the bottom, at the status line, I can see that we have session number 0, window number 0. Now, I would like to show you how to split the window of tmux session into two. So for that, we can use two commands. And these commands are prefix, ctrl+b, and then %, and that splits your tmux session vertically. And another command would be prefix, ctrl+b, and then double quotes, and then it splits tmux session horizontally. And now within one window we have three panes. One pane on the left would be would occupy half of the window, and then we have 2/4. So in order to switch in between these panes, we can use command, prefix, and then arrow keys. For example, arrow key left would bring me to the left. And now I am at the left pane. So let's run command top here. What I would like to do, I would like to go to the session on the top right corner. I go again with prefix and then right, it's highlighted as green. If I want to go up, I would go again with prefix and then arrow up. And then here I am on the very top. So now let's say I would like to open something else here. I would like to use Vim, and I would like to open bashrc file here. So here I'm with an open bashrc, and I can simultaneously work with the bashrc file. In principle, in future and later on in the video, you'll see that it's possible to customize your tmux in a way that you would be able to use your mouse in order to switch between these panes, and that's very, very useful. So, and as you can see here, some windows might be really small. So in order to zoom in, you can use command prefix, again Ctrl+B, and then Z. In principle, in one tmux session you can create multiple panes instead of multiple windows, then using all these commands and using prefix Z command to zoom in, you would be able to zoom in and have the full control over your tmux session. In order to zoom out again, you use again command Ctrl+B and then Z. And here we are back. In the previous video, I mentioned that the cluster or the remote server can be used by multiple users from the same account. And if that is the case, it might be very useful to rename the windows they're using. For example, with their names or the jobs they're running. Let's rename the window with 3 panes to window user 1. And we do it using prefix comma. Ctrl+B, comma, and let's rename it as window underscore user 1. Now we can create another window. We do it with prefix C, and you can see currently it's called as bash, and we would like to rename it as window user 2. So I go again Ctrl+B and then comma, and then we rename bash into window underscore user2. This way, it allows you to keep all the windows inside the same tmux session under control. What else is possible would be to rename the session itself, and you can easily do it using prefix $. So currently the session is called as 0, but I can call it Pavel according to my name. And now if we detach from the tmux session using prefix D, we will see that we detached from session Pavel. And in case we create a new session by running tmux, and then you can see here that will be the session number 3 here. And in order to switch between the sessions, we can use the command prefix s. So it says we have two sessions, session Pavel and the session, the new session which we have just created. It contains one window. We can again rename this session to any name we would like to use. For that, we use again ctrl+b and then $, and we will call it user guest. Okay. So, for example, user guest would like to run the train, the program with the train, and then we will know that user guest is running the train. You can easily list all the sessions in tmux straight before you open any session running the command tmux ls. And here you can see that tmux ls shows us that we have two sessions currently. Pavel has two windows and user guest has one window. If I would like to specifically attach to the Pavel session, I would run tmux a minus t and then Pavel. That allows me to attach to the Pavel session, and then if I do ctrl+b 0, I will come back to the window with all the panes which you can see here. In case I have many windows within the same session, instead of going prefix 0, prefix 1, prefix 2, 3, I can switch as prefix n, and that means prefix next session, or prefix p, which stands for prefix previous, and that allows you not to go for the all the possible digits using different keys. Especially if you don't remember which one corresponds to which. That also might be handy. And the last command I would like to show here would be creating a session with the already given name, and it would be tmux new -s, and then let's call it Jack. And you can see here that we just created a session with the name Jack. I do prefix s, and then prefix s shows us 3 different sessions. One Jack, one Pavel, and user guest. And again, if we would like to quit one of the sessions, we would just type exit, and if we exit from the Jack session, we will have only 2 sessions available. We can check it using tmux ls. Now let's talk about the scrolling buffer issue. I would like to look at some output which is coming in my terminal, and I would like to zoom in this pane, and I run ctrl+b, which is prefix, and then z. I would like to have an output of the bashrc file into the terminal using command cat. And now what happens is I would probably like to see the beginning of my bashrc file. And if I just scroll with the mouse, you'll see that I would not be able to do so. I will be scrolling up and I will come back not in tmux, but I would come back to my commands in my terminal. So that's why I would need to go to this so-called copy mode. And to do so, I would need to run ctrl+b and then squared bracket. And then you see the number of lines in the current file, and after I'm entering this copy mode, I can go with the arrow up and with an arrow down. If I need to select something, for example, I would like to use this prompt colors, I can copy it, I can select it, and then in order to come back to my normal tmux settings, I would just need to click on escape. Now let's talk about the idea of customization of tmux. Some users might find it quite difficult to remember all the commands. For example, the commands as prefix % and prefix quotes for splitting panes into horizontal and vertical. And therefore we can reprogram it to prefix H for horizontal split and prefix V for the vertical split. Also, when you're having all these panes, using prefix arrow left, right, top and bottom would be quite hard because it requires too much of typing, and instead you can use the mouse. And for that you can easily customize your tmux. That's what I've done using a specific file, and I deposit it onto my GitHub account. So if you go to Google, and then you can type github/afanasyevp, and then you'll go to my GitHub page, and there is a folder which is called shared files, and you'll find the file here which is called tmux.conf. Actually, this first dot is quite important. So what we can do, we can click on this raw button and we can copy the whole file. And what you would like to do is to paste this text into the file on the remote server, not on your local machine, but on the remote server in the home directory as .tmux.conf file. That .tmux.conf file will contain all the customized settings for your tmux. I'm connecting to the remote server and I'm creating this .tmux.conf file within my home directory. You can use any text editor, Nano or Vim, whatever you prefer. And I paste all the text which I copied from my GitHub repository. So what this file contains, it contains general settings for the customization of tmux, enabling the mouse. Then the next one is about the coloring mode, history limit, which might also be very important. To extend it a little bit. So then I'm changing prefix ctrl+b to ctrl+a, and because ctrl+b is a bit far away, and if you're typing very fast that might be an issue, but in principle you can use using these settings both ctrl+b and ctrl+a as a prefix. Again, as I mentioned before, there is this horizontal and vertical split reprogrammed, and also it allows to name, start counting panes and windows starting with 1 instead of 0, as it's done by default. So let's save this and let's create a new tmux session. We call it tmux. And as I suggested before, we create it with a name, tmux new -s, and I call it Pavel. That's my name, and then you can see in the bottom that now it's called Pavel, and then it starts, the window starts with 1 rather than 0, as it was supposed to be starting before. And now I can run prefix as a ctrl+b or ctrl+a, it doesn't matter, and V, and now I can switch in between, and then I can have this split vertically using prefix V instead of prefix %, And now I can run commands here, ls for example, and then in order to switch to the left pane, I can just click with the left button, mouse left button, and then I can run another program here, for example our favorite program train, and then you'll see the train coming here. You should not probably customize it too strongly in order so that the other users would also be able to use your settings in case you're sharing account with other users, and make sure that the key combinations will not interfere with the more general settings of in the terminal. So finally here I'm providing the list of the commands we were using in this video, and I really hope that I convinced you that tmux is a very powerful tool. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, or leave a comment, and I really hope to see you in the next one.